to see everybody. Fantastic, and welcome to our Saturday call. It is always good to see each and every one of you. And I know it's our North American call here, and we have people calling in from all over the world. It is fun to hear so many people calling in, and we are all on one same mission. So we do these calls to learn every week, and every time we have a different speaker on, it always gives so much inspiration. Now, you have heard his name, you have heard him speak, he has been on different things, and I am just in awe sometimes when I see people just rising to one of the top ranks. But I know some people have said to me, you hear about all these people rising to these top ranks, and am I doing something wrong? And one of the things that you hear is never compare your chapter 3 with somebody else's chapter 36, because there's a story behind it, and that's the inspirational part. So we're going to bring somebody on here who I have respected from the start, and we're going to hear a lot of his backstory also. So let's hear it for the ambassador, Sven Goebel. Hi, Sven. Welcome to the call.
Hi, everyone. Lovely greetings from Switzerland. And it reminds me of my old days when I was working actively with downlines in Canada and the US. And we had that Saturday call every week, and we called it Coffee with Sven, because while everyone in the States and Canada had the morning coffee, I had my afternoon coffee. So we could have great coffee time together, and we used it for working and for brainstorming. And it was just a great thing. So since many, many years, for the first time, I'm back on with groups from the US and Canada, and I'm very excited. So thank you very much for that kind invitation, Carla. And also let me say, whenever I hear you host, speak on stage, you are so professional, the way you do it, the way you conduct yourself. There's always something I can learn from too.
Oh, I love that. Wow. That just gave me the tingles inside. I'm like, wow, I get to inspire other people. I think that's what we all want. We want to be inspiring to others. Sven, you just have that natural presence when you come up, and it just is so flowing, and you rose to the ambassador level on your way to, you have credits for even more, because you have people in your team that are actually have higher titles. That's crazy. Yeah. Your business is growing that fast, and you started Zinzino not that long ago. It was, about not even 2 years ago. Yeah,
it's 1 year and 2 months, and it's been an amazing journey.
Is that? I know. It's crazy. Okay, but now, before we get to the end of the story, let's go back and hear some about your start. I think that's kind of what people also need to hear. How did you start in this industry, and how did it build up to start in the industry?
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever somebody asked me today, how can you make ambassador in 1 year? Or actually, we did it in 7 months. How can you do that? And I said that it didn't take me 7 months. It took me 31 years. Just the other 30 years, I was not working with Zinzino. But of course, you build your relationship, you build your expertise, and you build your network, your contacts. And fortunately enough, I never, before I get to the very beginnings, let's talk about this really quickly. I was lucky enough to never have jeopardized or ruined my name in this industry, because I've always been working on the bright side. I've always been working with proper network marketing products and legitimate companies. I always try to also do good for the industry, not just for my own business, not just for my own company, but for the industry. So I got very engaged in generic events like GoPro and Business for Home and the Association of Network Marketing Professionals. So whenever they invited me over as a speaker, which was always a great privilege to get that request, I, of course, went and I did my best. So I was able to build I cannot say my brand. I have to include Audrey here, of course. We were able to build our brand very thoroughly over the past 20 years. And then when you do a move like we just did with Zinzino about a year ago, that's where people get intrigued. That's where they get interested. So it was not too hard for us to position some good people and people we've been working alongside with for 20 plus years. So we did not have to start that from scratch. Although what I wanted to do is I wanted to go through the compensation plan rank by rank. I did not use my existing organization to put some on the left side, some on the right side, and here's the rank. I did everyone I had at this point under Gerhard. We did that one leg because I said to Audrey, let's see how it is to build really from scratch. So we were like starting off as a flamingo, standing on one leg, and then say, okay, let's just get busy and build the other leg, just like anybody else would have to do it. But it didn't take long, and we were so lucky that we found Chris Piergate.
That is crazy. And that's, when you started and you had like your first month and you passed my own title and things like that, I was like, yeah, well, he, had this organization come in and he could just place everybody and it, and when I had you were on the director call, which I always make a plug. Everyone should get to director just to be on those calls. You came on, and when you said that you placed the organization so that everybody benefited from each other from that organization in one leg, and you were started from scratch and built that second leg, and now you've built the third leg. I mean, seriously, it was like, okay, my deepest respects for doing that. And you said one more thing. You said you're always working for the industry and getting that good name, always been in the good companies. Now, some people, we have a lot of people in the United States, they had never been in a direct sales company before. I've never really built a direct sales company before. So it's, we're all new, and we do get some negative sometimes about, oh, it's one of those type of things. But, as you hear from Art so many times, the direct sales industry is not, doesn't have that same negative connotation that some people have heard before, because the companies that aren't, doing things the way they should or having issues, they're not there anymore. And the companies that are here are actually extremely, incredible with fantastic products and great things. So we don't have to worry when we have our direct selling organizations and we have all of this. And Zinzino is one of those companies that have really been also showing the way as you did.
Yeah, absolutely. I always try to look over the edge of my own plate because sometimes you find solutions outside the box and not just inside your own box where everybody preaches the same thing. So I was kind of trying to keep contacts with a lot of top networkers from all across the globe. You need to understand that the family is becoming very small again at the very top on the network marketing industry. Everyone knows everyone, and they are connected, and they are on a professional level very well connected, and you can always seek help or chat with somebody and actually if he knows you, it's a little easier, and get some extra benefits which you might not find in your own company, which you might not find from your upline. And I always took advantage of that. But also I understand I needed to one of that person who gives first. So the more you give, the more you get in return, right? So we were always trying to level the industry up, especially since it became through social media so transparent over the past years. I mean, when I started back in 1992, and now let's get back to that story, right? When I started back in 1992, there was no cell phone. Maybe there were cell phones, but they looked like a briefcase, yeah? And they cost about 15,000, so we couldn't afford one as young guys. So we didn't have a cell phone, and there was no internet at this point, not at all. So we did bugs on the windscreen. We had to drive everywhere. And sometimes you drove 3 hours just to figure out that the person you wanted to meet had some kind of whatever and couldn't show up. So you drove back home, and the only thing that saved you and kind of made it worthwhile was listening to audio tapes while you were driving. So you could at least get some teaching points, which was kind of covering up the disappointment of not having that appointment done properly. So there were a lot of things that we could do. At this point, I was part-time, of course. I started this business part-time. I was finishing my PhD in science at the Technical University in Darmstadt. And, sometimes when you study something, like I studied chemistry, you might find out during that path that it is not meant for you. I had best grades, everything. It was not hard for me to accomplish my task, but my heart wasn't in this. And I was desperately looking for an escape, for a plan B, especially since I'm from a family where everybody since generation has been self-employed. So I wanted to become an entrepreneur, but when you become a scientist, it's very hard to start your own business. What kind of business would you do? So I was kind of looking for something. And a friend of mine who wasn't doing so good, he left university, he started his own company, and suddenly he became really successful. And I said, you know what, I feel like I'm on the wrong side here. What kind of option do I have? And with that happening, somebody invited me to a business opportunity meeting in February 1992. I didn't want to go alone, so I brought a friend. And we went to this first opportunity meeting. And then this weekend after, they were announcing a big regional event where 500 people would show up. And that's where actually the story began. That's where I felt I have something here. I didn't know actually what it was. And fortunately, being 26 years old, now I'm 57 now, I was 26 when this happened. Fortunately enough, my parents didn't intervene. They were kind of, course, demanding of me to finish the PhD and get everything on order. But they felt when I developed some passion, I would be able to do it. And my dad just said to me, hey, do it 100% or don't do it at all. Just don't regret your choice. And that's how I, from 1994, May 1994, when my doctorate was done, I became a full-time network marketer, and I've been into this wonderful industry or profession ever since. And it was a roller coaster ride. Yeah.
Already at 1994. So you had been doing this for just 2 years.
Yeah.
Where it was having success. Now, passion is one thing. So you had a passion about what you were doing. You could see being your own business and leading your own business was a key. And so you were already having success. 2 years. That already, what were you doing that you were having that much success? You must have had great leadership, or were you just out there doing a lot of meetings, or because that's quite well in 2 years.
Yeah, I had to, because I was putting myself under big pressure. I had to prove to myself within the 1.5 years I would have left to do it part-time until my doctor would have been finished, that this would work for me. If it hadn't worked, I would have gone plan A. And you cannot reject any offers and then come back later and say, hey, you know what, maybe I still do it. It was just it was a decision. And I felt that my passion was developing during doing this, even part-time. I just love the industry. I love the people on stage. I love the way they do business. I love the business model. I love being self-determined, all these kind of things. So I just had to make it work. And I worked harder and harder than anyone else, probably, together with my team. I had a few folks who had the same situation. So together with my team, we worked harder than we outworked everyone just to make it happen. And the day I had my test, the day I finished my PhD, I was making more money than the professors who were testing me. And this was kind of, I've done it. And then I put this doctor hat on, and I got the best grades because I didn't care. I was not that nervous because it was not depending on this thing anymore. So I put that doctor hat on, put it back off, and says, let's go to freedom. I'm now full-time in network marketing. This was 30th of May, 1994. I still remember it. And then my professor came up to me and he said, Sven, are you really serious? You have that great offers from the industry. You can start. And I said, no, thank you. And 10 years later, we had a reunion. We had a meeting with all the guys from that year celebrating their PhDs. And my professor was there. And I remember I pulled up with this amazing, sexy Porsche 911, and all the others were driving these little nitty bitty cars. It's today is not so important anymore, but at this time it was a big thing for me. And I went, let's park in the front row and let's see what happens.
But I love that, because a lot of people might not, first of all, talk to people who are, 26 at the time, because, pretty young to build this. And somebody who's studying a PhD in chemistry doesn't sound like the first person you would be going.
No, you wouldn't. Hey,
but
you wouldn't have recruited me anyways, because I didn't even have a tie. So when we went to our first meeting, I had to borrow a tie from my dad, and I felt totally odd in it because I never wore one before. And it was kind of, and we were doing chemistry and we looked like nerds, so nobody would have sponsored us. And guess what? I mean, you would have made hundreds and hundreds of million downline volume if you had sponsored me 30 years ago.
Mhm. Absolutely. But I think that's a good lesson of people is
talk to everyone.
Because everybody, we need to talk to people and find those needs, because you were looking for something, and you hunger and passionate about it. And, you know, as Hilda says, it's the hunger and the skills. So you had to hunger from the start, and you can tell you're still passionate. I mean, every speech you've given and everything we're hearing, even in a simple train, you feel the passion that you have. You have a passion for the industry and a passion for products and a passion for helping people. Okay, so now let's go on to skills, because you were getting successful and you're driving a Porsche and people are noticing that. And now we're at 28. So what has happened along the way between there and now?
I think I was forced to develop skills because up to this point, actually up to the point where I joined Zinzino a year ago, my upline is Hilda and Orion directly. So it's the first time I do have a sponsor on upline from Europe. I always had my sponsors in the United States. So actually, when I joined my first network marketing business, I had to look up for my sponsor. I wasn't invited by anyone, I just went. Let me tell you how that worked. So I had a friend at university, and he was a little older than me. So that one Saturday afternoon, he was finishing his PhD already, and he was looking for a job. And he was doing all these summaries and writing all these letters to all these companies. And I called him up and said, Peter, how are you doing with your resumes? Is everything working fine? Do you have a job? He said, no, not yet. But I found an American company. They are selling water and air filtration systems. And you can do this too. Would you like to join me at a meeting? And I said, whoa, this sounds a little bit odd, you know, like insurance business and this permit thing. And that's what my first thought was. And I said, yeah, Peter, good luck with that. And I put down the phone, put it back up, called Bernie and said, Bernie, you know what? Peter just called me. I think he has something for us. We need to go. So I called Peter back and said, okay, Peter, we're coming. I'm bringing Bernie. So Bernie and I went to this opportunity meeting I just talked about. Guess who didn't show up? Peter. He didn't show up. He didn't show up because that week he found a job. He got an okay. So I was at that business opportunity meeting together with my friend. And we were standing there at the entrance, and they were asking us, are you a guest or a partner? And I said, oh, what do we say? You know, if we say we are guests, they will ask who invited us. He's not there. And they're not going to let us in. We said, we are partner. And he said, okay, then it's $20. Guests are free. And we went like, shit. That's how it started. So then we went in, and then we went to this big meeting, and we just wanted to do this business desperately. But nobody was talking to us. Nobody was looking at us. So I went back home and I said, I need to find a sponsor. I need somebody who signs us up. So I found
hunger, by the way. Huh? That is a wow hunger, by the way.
So I called Peter. I said, Peter, who did you get this business from? And he said, you know, there was that elder man doing a newspaper ad in one of the German newspapers. He's from Phoenix, Arizona. He signed me up. And I said, give me a phone number. He said, I don't have that phone number anymore, and I actually don't care anymore. So we were spending 3 days looking through the daily newspapers, the ad sections, to find somebody with a US number. And guess what? We found the guy. We found the guy. I gave him a call. I said, sign us up. He went like, okay, let's do that. Signed us up. It took him 5 months until he came to Germany. Just when we broke a higher rank, then he actually showed up, and we became good friends later. He's passed away in the meantime. He would be in his 90s now, but it was an amazing start, and it was the beginning of a great friendship. But I think it's probably the most crazy story on onboarding a network marketing business you've ever heard.
I think so too. You got a second of that.
It's about persistence.
Crazy start.
Yeah.
But again, the number one thing you see from that is the energy and the excitement and the hunger. You saw that this could, I mean, chemistry, PhD, going to hunger for helping people. But you couldn't have been like excited about water systems in that sense. What were you excited about in that? Or did you see?
I tell you so clearly, I was so lucky that at this meeting, a person showed up who probably we all know by name, because the number one top earner at this company, and it was NSA, Today Juice Plus company. I joined the meeting in 1992. The number one top earner is not just the top earner of this company, he's the top earner of worldwide all network companies. And his name is Jeff Roberti from Sarasota. I'm sure you've heard about Jeff Roberti. So that guy at this time was 27 years old. So when we were sitting in this room in the second row, the first row was free, the door opened, that guy came in. He looked like an actor of Miami Vice, you know, suntan, coming from Florida, crocodile leather boots, crocodile leather briefcase. For Germans, in February, where everybody is pale, it was like a cultural shock. And then this guy went on stage sharing his story of having been a broke waiter, and now just 7 years later, 7 years in the company, 27 years old, $7 million made. And he I went like, wow, this is like a dream. And I asked Bernie, I said, Bernie, if you and I would start together, can you imagine you and I together, we can just make 10% of what he made? And Bernie said to me, yeah, 10%, you and I together, he's a broke waiter, we are educated, highly educated PhDs, of course we can. And I said, that's 700,000, let's get started. And that's why we wanted to start. And I never lost that passion, I never lost that vision, I never lost the big picture of what's possible in this industry. And over the past 31 years, I've seen an endless amount of people escaping mediocrity by being average person and work tirelessly on their dream and have accomplished that dream. And this is what drives me over and over and over again. It's amazing. At the same time, with our logic and clarity, we did develop some techniques very quickly. I launched the KISS concept, contact information start system, you know, the duplication concept, which we still apply today, how to onboard people, how to bring them in the system, how to make the contacts, how to do the information. So we were developing our tools, but since we did not have an upline who was directly supporting us, we were forced to figure it out ourselves. We were building this with trial and error, but we were young enough. Yeah.
Because in so many ways, it just sounds like you got started, you had success, and you just kept going, and you've just been having lots of success. Like, you know, where people are saying you have your ups and your downs, where you have the struggles. Did you have struggles, or were you just looking at them as we got to just challenges?
We had massive struggles. We had some of our companies going out of business after we had built 50,000 distributor. Very famous example is Quorum International, because 1.5 years later, when I didn't hear back of my sponsor in the States anymore, I called him up. I said, Don, what's happening? You know, you haven't called us for a while. Yeah, you know what? Everyone has changed companies. Nobody's with NSA anymore. And I went like, what the fuck is going on? So my upline left. Nobody was there anymore. And but there were a few things I wasn't very happy with. So I decided in 1996 to board a plane, take my dad and a friend, and fly over to the United States and see what they have to offer. So all of us started in Quorum International.
So you were looking for another you were looking for another company then?
I was not looking for another company. I was not happy in the company I was in with the things that were happening.
Okay.
But it wasn't because of our organization. It was because of the things that were happening inside the company.
Inside the company.
Yeah.
Okay. So 4 years later, you're coming to the US and you are going to see what another company has to offer, or?
Yes, we were looking at the company that all the other top shots from the network industry in the United States, Eric Worre and Paula Pritchett, Kathy Robbins, and all these big guys, they were all joining this company. And I thought, man, there might be some merit in it for us too. You know, I want to do this full time, even more seriously. I need a better vehicle. So that was the first time I changed my company. And actually, there was something going on with this company already in the UK and also in Holland. And I said, you know, I can be the first in my country, in Germany. So we got started, did all the pioneer work, and we applied what we learned. And this was a very quick success. I became a 6-figure monthly earner in month 13, together with the teams. You know, we were going crazy with this one. And the trees really grew into the skies. It was probably the biggest and fastest success I ever had in these 31 years. But there's a big, big but. 5 years later, when we were financially sound, we were living a dream life. We were just, my wife at this time, ex-wife, She was in her mid-20s. I was in my early 30s. We were making a lot of money. We were living the dream life. And I thought, wow, this is paradise. And always, whenever you think paradise is happening to you, something ugly might happen. And so it did to us, because we did not know that the company, while we were still celebrating and growing, was already going to chapter 11 in the United States. You know, in today's times, you would know in a second because of social media, internet, people being connected. But in the old days, you had no clue. We just felt something was kind of lacking. To cut the long story short, there was the day where I had 2,000 of my people in the room, and I had to tell them that the game is over. And they weren't expecting that. That was my most darkest moment. And it was so painful that I did that speech. I apologized. I didn't know, but I just wanted to be honest. I left stage and I said, I'm never, ever going to do network marketing again for the rest of my life. And this was in 1999. So that's where an ugly part of my life started. You know, everything was kind of tumbling crazily. It was a very negative experience. It also had impact on my private life, you know. I didn't know really what to do. I was doing some consultancy work. I got a lot of offers of network companies to get started with them. I had a good name from the magazines, network marketing magazines, but you know, I was so broke inside, so disillusionized. I wouldn't have been able to touch another company at this point. So I needed a break, but I didn't know what to do. So I started my own consulting company. I got my employees. We stayed inside the industry. We were helping people with decentralized websites and doing the first step in the internet. That's what we were getting the expertise from. But then I found myself being a traditional entrepreneur with a rat race inside the network industry, which is the most dumbest of all you can do. You do network marketing because you want to be free, get this passive income, but then you build an active income inside network marketing. I felt I just went totally the wrong path. But I had a few nice projects, but most of the time the people wanted to work with me, not with my people. I couldn't scale it up. Then suddenly I worked harder than ever before for less money than ever before. I ran into a divorce, some other things happened, and my life was a mess around 2000. And it ended in a way where I moved back in with my parents, being in my early mid-30s. And this was the down.
Wow. I mean, that is, I asked about the downs.
There's the down. Big highs, big lows.
So many big highs, so many drives, and here you are going through divorce, living at your folks and struggling. Did you, even though you were struggling, did you still feel any of the hunger, or that you kind of wanted to? Or you definitely want your life back, and I cannot be thankful enough to my mom, because when I moved back with my parents, my mom said, here's the deal, son. I'm going to do your washing, I'm going to make your food, and you go out there and chase your life back. That's the deal. That's what she said to me. I never forget this sentence. So I said, okay, Cheryl, I'm going to do that. And I love that. Yeah, I think that mom being, you know, okay, you're too big to be in the nest. Come on, and they pop you out.
She said, okay, you know, you can sleep here, you can eat here. I do your washing because that's something I'm not very talented at. But you go out there and get your life back. And I said, you have to do that. So I was thinking, I was sitting there being frustrated. I had to deal, you know, my oldest son, who's 26 now, he was 2.5 years old. I lost the most precious thing, which was my family at this time, you know, which I never thought would happen, and it had to happen. It came back. I know today it was probably necessary, but it was a big disaster for me at this time, because it took some of my power away, because I felt weakened, and the wish was there, but I needed to regain the power. And then it was 2001 in September, exactly when the towers fell in New York. I got a call from an ex-upline, from my ex-upline, and he said, Sven, how are you doing? I said, don't ask. Don't ask. I'm not in a good shape right now. And he said, hey, you know what? There's a new company in the nutritional segment who would like to come into Europe. Would you be open? And I said, maybe this is your chance. If you look back in what you were succeeding in, it was always building actively a network marketing business as a distributor. So I said, yeah. So I flew over again. took a friend. We looked at it. We say we're going to do it. And this was Unicity Network. So I spent the next 13 years until 2014 building this business. I made it to the very top again. We became the first Chairman's Club members. We made a two-figure amount of millions in commissions. It has been an amazing ride. I really got my life back. I got my independence back. I got my confidence back. And I met Audrey there, which was the best thing of all. So just a few years later, things were good again. But it was a roller coaster ride up to this point. You can imagine. But the work ethics, when I was back to that time where I was a student, when we couldn't use Zoom and we had to drive everywhere, there were many nights I was doing meeting in the city and had to drive home, and I arrived home at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and I had to get up at 6 in the morning and go to university and do my traditional job, my PhD, just like others have to go to work. And I remember so well that I was always willing to go this extra mile, to take on 2 or 3 hours sleep and still be fully focused and be there all day for the PhD and all night for the opportunity meetings and all weekends for the seminars. I knew that this was the only key. And I was just saying it to our folks this morning in the Basic Saturday, which we do every Saturday. I said, you got to sacrifice things if you want success on the other hand. Do not expect to keep living your life like you live it today and suddenly paradise appears. It's not going to happen. Only the higher you're willing to do your sacrifices, the higher your success outcome is going to be. But it's a trade-off. And there's no one I've ever met who was not needing to do this kind of trade-off.
Mm-hmm. And if you want to change, if you want to change in your life, you need to change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So you're in this company now, and you were in this company 13 or 14 years?
13 years.
And
then something else happened again. So I got a call from a long-year friend of mine. He was the European CEO of the Juice Plus company again. His name is Dan Holzman. And Dan called me and he said, hey, we are not living very far apart from each other. You have moved your family to Switzerland. I live here in Switzerland by the lake. Let's meet. So we were doing a jour fixe. And since I was doing well with Unicity and he was doing well with his company, we met regularly just to brainstorm and to get some external advice from each other. Which was a good thing to do. And it didn't take too long. He started to pitch me. I said, hey, you know what? I feel you're not really happy anymore. And I wasn't happy at this point anymore because business was picking up very strongly in Asia. And the company made the decision to take all capable corporate management from Europe to Asia. And we had to deal with second or third level corporate management who didn't know how to do their job properly. So what it meant for us is the service level of what the company provides was not good enough to keep driving the business. And we were kind of shoveling water uphill with our fingers. That's how it felt. And it was very tiring and very draining. I was living on a good paycheck at this moment. It was around 65 to 70,000 a month. So it was really good. And I hadn't to do anything, but I was not happy. You can live on a high paycheck and still not be happy. Yeah. And success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. And this is actually how I felt at this point.
Success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure.
Yeah.
That could be on a plaque.
Yeah.
That's
success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. And I was right at this point. So I was open for that offer to just go and sell my position, leave the company and do something completely different, which is join corporate management as a vice president for Europe. And the idea was just to drive this business up. And we were able to do it. And what intrigued me was that in that year, everything changed inside the industry, which was we went from an analog kind of online person-to-person business right into the social media-driven business. And there was a group of young people in the UK who were doing extraordinarily well, and they were driving growth unlike anything I had seen before in my profession and also in my companies, I mean, and also in this company. It was a total culture shock of what these people experienced, and I was getting curious. I said, maybe this is the future on how network is done. why maybe we use social media all the time, or maybe only social media in the future. We know today the pendulum swung back, but at this point it was something new. Everybody was excited, and the new people were just nailing it. So we drove the volume from 80 million a year to 360 million a year just in 1.5 years. And then it was an amazing business, and it was just all driven by young people between 20 to 35, maybe 40 max. While we were in our age still working conservatively, traditionally, these young people were using tools and techniques through social media where we had no idea. And at this time, the Facebook algorithms were still very preferable. They were you could use them. They had a lot of reach, not today anymore. But at this point, they were riding a wave unlike anything I've seen before. And this was just amazing, and we were doing so well. And the idea of my colleague who was the European CEO and main shareholder, he wanted to take over the company, take it to Europe, and buy out the US part. And we wanted to own the company and keep building it. This was the big vision. But then it came different. An institutional investor came in, and he was bought out for a lot of millions, for a lot of money. But when he then left the business, there wasn't much for me left because I lost my buddy. And that's when I talked to Sven and my partner. We spent the weekend with our wives at Côte d'Azur in Monte Carlo, enjoying the weekend, and say, we had a few glasses of rosé, and we said, why don't we do our own company? And this was in 2017. In 2017, we decided to do our own company because we had the network, we had the know-how, we had the corporate experience, we had the money, we had all the things we needed to make this thing happen. And that's where we started Enhance. That's the company that Zinzino has taken over last year. So we started our business. Audrey's background is skincare. We developed this amazing skincare line. We did everything from scratch, and it took off incredibly well. And 9 months later, COVID hit. And that was a drama for us. It's not a drama so much for people who or for companies who already have that infrastructure, because people already knew each other from the live events and the live meetings from the year before. So changing to Zoom wasn't such a bad thing, although it was a bad thing. But for a new company where the culture hasn't grown yet, and where we were only able to do one single live meeting and then everything was locked down, and it hindered our growth and it hindered our plans, and we kept growing, but very slowly. 3 million a year, 4 million a year was the maximum in the third year. A little bit like the Zinzino numbers, the same kind of struggle Hilde and Orion had 18 years ago. The numbers are pretty comparable.
Yeah.
Difference, just one thing, the difference was we weren't as young as Orion and Hilde were 18 years ago anymore. And I figured out, when we keep doing this and pushing this, I'm going to be 70 until I reach my goal, or 75. And we felt like having a strong partner where we could actually stick ourselves under their wings, add value to their organization, and move up together is probably the best choice. And I was kind of
How did you meet them? How did you, I know a lot of the top direct sellers, they know each other. I remember, you can see that at the mastermind event that Art does. A lot of those leaders, they know each other, they respect each other. I actually, when you were growing, I think I looked back and saw Donna Johnson did an interview with you years ago, watched that too. And there was, you know each other, but how did you meet Orion and Hilde?
It was through a recommendation from a common friend of ours. That was actually a guy I talked to. It was in a summer vacation. We had an incident with one of our top distributors where we said, maybe we have to split the relationship from the company. And I was sitting there 2 years ago in the summer looking at the pool. It was in Mallorca. And I remember when I said to Audrey, I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm getting so many offers and so many requests on joining partners. We were asked for acquisitions, for mergers, for corporations. People wanted to buy our distributors. People wanted to buy our brand. It happened all the time, but I never listened. And this was the decision. That was the moment where I thought, probably I start listening a little better. If there was a company that would actually fit our culture, fit our intentions, is actually something like what we wanted to build, then I better listen. And I said that to Audrey. And September, 2 months later, I met with that guy in Frankfurt. He knows the industry well, he's well connected. And I shared that thought with him. And I had to be very cautious because neither could I tell my employees about these thoughts, not our distributors, because they would be disillusionized right away. So I had to keep it very close to myself. So I opened up to that person and said, look, this is very confidential, but you already brought me a few proposals. I just want to let you know I'm open. And here's a list of what a company would have to accomplish or would have to be like if I would be interested. I gave him a list of 17 points, which today are my Zinzino talking points. And he looked at that list and he laughed at me and said, Sven, such a company doesn't exist. I'm sorry. You're dreaming. Yeah, I said, but this is the company how we wanted to build ours. It must exist. Said, no, not that I know of, not that I know of. Okay. So over the past months, next 3 months from September onwards, he came with some suggestions. And then he came up and said, have you heard about a company called Zinzino? And I said, yeah, I have. 2 times. The first time was at the Business for Home Generic Network Marketing event. There was a young dynamic speaker from Italy called Marco Passanante. And he was on stage nailing it. And I was sitting in the audience and I said, wow, you know, that young guy, he's just amazing. What company is he with? A Scandinavian company? I went like, how can such a guy be with a Scandinavian company? This was my perception, you know, that's how that's impossible. But it kind of resonated with me. And I did not know that it was Orion's company at this time because I knew Orion from before, namely from 2011, when we were all featured in the Greatest Network Marketing book. Randy Gate had his own chapter, Orion had his own chapter, I had my own chapter, and Orion and I were the only 2 Europeans who were featured in this book. So that's why I heard of Orion, but I didn't have the connection in my mind between Orion Sally and Hilda Sally and Zinzino. I didn't even know who was running Zinzino. I just felt this young, brilliant guy on stage is with the wrong company. That's what I thought.
Okay.
And that was the first time. But the second time is even more interesting. Whenever we managed to recruit people in Scandinavia, guess what? It didn't take longer than a month and they were gone. And when you ask where did they go to, they went to Zinzino. And what the matter is going on here? So when that guy came and said, Zinzino would like to talk to you, I knew it was a brilliant European company by then. I said, I would be really interested. And then everything went very quickly. We had
okay, but we want to hear the details. So
yeah.
you want to meet.
Yeah.
So what happened at that meeting? Where were you? Did you go up to visit?
Yeah, I let you know. So that was around October, 1.5 years ago. What is it? 23, 22, October 21. 22? No, October 21. October 21, we did 2 Zoom calls. We felt we had some good synergy, some good talk. It was very high level conversations. I mean, you know how it is when you have Orion on the call, right? It is a top high level, super duper great, in-depth, serious, upfront conversation. And we felt we have some great people. Then the second or third call was already together with my partner, Orion and Doug. So it was the 4 of us. And we felt we had some sympathy for each other. And it didn't take long, and they gave us an invitation to fly out to Oslo and meet them in person to talk about some possible cooperation. And we wanted to do this before Christmas, and then everyone got COVID. So first it was Sven's family got COVID. I think then Orion's family had COVID, then my family had COVID. And it took us until January 20 or something. It was around the 20th of January until we could fly up to Oslo. And I remember we spent 1.5 days very intensely together. Beforehand, we had sent everything we could send digitally. But it was not about so much, oh, what are we, what are you, what do you have? It was more about, can the 4 of us do something brilliant together? This was the impression, at least, that we had. And we liked what we saw. We had, from the first moment, an extreme respect for what these guys had built with Zinzino, knowing what it means, knowing what it takes. We were in awe of what we learned about the company, and we thought, this could really be our home. This could be the solution to the demands we've had. And then we figured out during that conversation that Orion, as a founder, was actually 100% working in the field. And I didn't fly up there being the CEO of my company of getting back into the field, but I instantly got the idea. And I said, wow, you know what? This would be the most amazing thing if I just could drop everything, what I don't like, and go back to what I love the most, which is building an organization. And I said to Orion, I said, Orion, can I do this too? When we join forces, can I get into the field and do like Lou and Hilde? Can Audrey and I get into the field? My partner Sven said, yeah, I would like to do the same, you know? And I said, hey, Doug, you are a great CEO. You're not going to compete. We're not going to go corporate. We would love to go into the field, yeah? So that was a good thing. And what happened afterwards is, you know, Stefan Mühl, he was my COO in the company. And our employees like Daniela Mühl and some other people, which Manuel Lopez, who's now in the IT department, Zinzino bought the company. They took our employees and they released us being free, being full blast in the field. And this was maybe the biggest thing for me after all these years, after all the ups and downs and the consultant experience and the corporate experience and the long year field experience, to finally arrive again where I started out 30 years ago, doing what I love to do the most, which is building an organization and be with guys like you today.
What inspiration just to hear, because your passion is there, and to hear the ups and the downs. And like you said, it's a 31-year story. And I think people really need to hear that. It's not just that you in a year and 2 months and actually less went to ambassador and built this great organization, but it was 31 years in the making.
Yeah, it was 31 years in the making. And sometimes you are feeling that everything in the world is against you and things don't work out, you know, with that COVID thing. And then we had struggled with some leaders and some other things happened. And you go like, well, when is the day where everything falls into place, you know? And you know it's going to come, but you don't know when it comes. And so when I started with, when we decided on everything, and Doug said that meeting, he said, look, I can be very fast if I want something, or we can take it slow. And we all agree we want to do it fast. And Sven Henninger said to me, you know, he said, you know, it's a Nasdaq company. They have to do due diligence. The auditors have to go over all these things. They are going to do a service due diligence on our company, which was run very clean, very smoothly. So we didn't have any skeletons in the cupboard, but yet they have to do that due diligence. And he said, it's going to at least take 6 to 9, maybe 12 months. And Doug said, we can do that faster. And the signing, as you know, and also when Bloomberg reported and everything went public, was just 3 months later on the 5th of April. That's when everything was sealed, and then we could get started. And on the 1st of April last year, we started informing our leaders. We had to keep it very secret because, you know, sometimes such a deal blows up in the last second before signing, as you know. Mm-hmm. So I still wasn't able to tell my employees. I wasn't able to tell my leaders. I kept it totally secret. I can tell you, I was exploding on the inside. I said, like, ooh, you know. And my people, the leaders, they know me very well. Some of them have been with me 20 plus years, and they say, something's going on. And I had them coming up to me and say, you know what, I would like to have a tweak in the compensation plan. We need more countries. We need to scale faster. We need to grow. And usually I was pushing them back and I said, we are a startup. It takes time. It takes years until we can expand. And for the past months, I was telling, yeah, you know what? We're going to get a more aggressive and better compensation plan. You know what? Yeah, we will be able to work in more countries. Yeah, we will have a more extended product line. And they went like, what's he talking about? You know, but I was thinking about Zinzino being able to offer my people all these this amazing platform now, which was much bigger, much better, much more thoroughly, and much more detailed than what we had built up to this point, being a 3-year-old company, a young startup. So I felt very confident, but I couldn't say anything. And I'm not the guy who can hold things for himself too easily. I'm going like, when can I talk to these people? So it was early April. Orion flew in. Doug and Sven and the lawyers did the signing in one office, and we had the leaders in the other office giving them the story. And fortunately enough, the people we've had, our organization was very positive, very excited. And they
that was my next question, because people would be going, what?
Yeah.
Like what's going on, but I think it's great, but I think it's because they trusted you.
Yeah. Yeah. It was trust. They felt that we were working our company with and beyond our hearts and our abilities. They knew how hard we fought these years with all the adversities we've had. And they knew that we would not let go of anything. And whenever there would be a change, it would be a good change. We had that credit with our people and it paid off. So when we came and gave them this amazing story of being acquired by Zinzino and sailing in the Zinzino, under the Zinzino flag for the future, but we were able to keep our product line, the skincare line, which you know so well, then they were happy because they had the best of both worlds and they felt like we are not giving something up, we are getting a lot in addition. And this was actually what they were excited about. But most excited about, they were about the fact that Audrey and I became their upline again. They said, wow, now you're one of us again. You're not that CEO kind of guy where I don't even dare to call. Yeah, you are now our upline. I can get on your nerves day and night, and you will help us again. And you are in the trenches with us. And this is what they loved the most. So it was a good thing.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so last question for you.
Yeah.
Where do you see Zinzino in the future? Where do you see yourself?
Okay, let's start with Zinzino. I think that we haven't even started with Zinzino. Zinzino is such a gem. And having done some due diligence on Zinzino as well, and having clarity on my bullet points, which I wanted, and you heard Doug saying that in Mexico from stage, when Sven and I went to the two guys and said, you have really built that dream company that we wanted to build as well. And we said that with full respect, and we were feeling from the day we started with Zinzino very honored to be able to participate. And I believe that the potential of Zinzino and what role it will play in the world, not only in the direct sales world, but in the entire world, we don't have any clue yet how big, how strong, how powerful, and how advanced it's going to become. I think we have something in our hand that is uncomparable to anything out there. It's just our job to make it big, to accelerate, to scale. And we have more and more good people coming on board now, professionals who see that on all continents, and definitely also in your organizations, so that over the next 5 years, I believe, without a doubt, we are going to have a super amazing ride together, and we will drive this company to a 1 billion and beyond company.
So we can definitely be contacting some of these professors and scientists that are working in chemistry and PhDs and those young people who are out there. Well, there's a lot of young people right now who are looking at Zinzino too, and they are also wanting to have that dream lifestyle and pull up to their professor of their year and have that Porsche with them or whatever smart car that they really want. But there is so much potential to build any dream.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
And
I think that's what's so important about it, because we're going to have those numbers. But as I've been saying, every number has a name, and every name has a story, and every story matters. And that's why it's so exciting to hear everybody's story, because that's what's building this. And whether it's health stories or business stories or just being a part of a culture. And you've mentioned culture more than once, that it has that powerful culture in Zinzino of building that family.
This morning I had an onboarding with a 16-year-old and an 18-year-old. I know I can't even sign up a 16-year-old, but since it's my son, I can approve. And he brought I said, you are not going to sponsor anyone below 18, because that's when they are grown up here in Europe. And you're not going to recruit at school. You promise me. And then I help you build this business, because he was with us at the event and he was catching fire. My middle-year-old son, my 16-year-old. And he has a lot of friends who are a little older. So he was sitting in my office here with an 18-year-old guy who has a traditional job and a traditional perspective. And these young guys these days, they want more. They see beautiful, colorful lives on social media. They understand that a YouTuber can make millions when they are just 20 years old, and who is running a traditional job, they probably cannot. And although I'm definitely pro education, I'm pro university, I'm pro these things, and I want the same for my kids. But I'm also pro side hustle. I think that the young people of today need to look left and right and see what's there for them. And when you're young, you can fail as often as you want. It's not going to be a drama. But I think you will gain a lot of strength for the years to come. It's no problem to fail in your 20s. It's okay to fail in your 30s, but it's getting tough to fail in your 40s or even 50s. That's where you can't fail anymore. It has severe consequences on your life, on your family. That's why I rather have young people fail early and fail more often, because actually they can't even fail, they can just learn. So supporting young generations driving our business is a good thing, and I'm very excited about that. And I did the same thing 10 years ago when in the Juice Plus company, this young generation came up and did everything through social media. I can tell you, I gave them my very best, and I have a lot to teach, but I must tell you, I learned as much of them as they could learn from me. Even if they were since they were brand new in the business, it's bidirectional. And I can see the same thing in these young guys, you know, having that dream, which we can actually fulfill. Also, I feel very good about that, because I know that Zinzino is a company that's not going to let anyone down. If you just do what you need to do, Zinzino will always match you. Whether you're super strong, Zinzino can keep up your pace, or whether you're brand new, Zinzino will pick you up. So they can't actually fail. They can just learn and grow. That's why I'm such a fan of building young organizations, and I will keep doing this. And also, you know, one day when you sit in your Hollywood with being 80 years old, looking in the mountains or looking over the sea, you want an organization that still thrives. And so you got to recruit a few people that are 20 years younger than yourself, or 30, right?
Right, right.
That's
It's incredible. I mean, it's so inspirational. I can see both online and people on the live, and those who are streaming in are complimenting and thanking for just sharing your story, because the journey really matters. And to hear the ups and downs and to hear the struggles, and that you chose Zinzino, you know, to grow and to be in here and to grow your organization. And
yeah.
I think, you know, so 5-10 years from now, do you have anything to say about where you?
Fortunately, at this point, we have pretty much accomplished our material goals. Like, we live in the house we want to live. I think even making much more money in the future, why would I ever have to move? I've had all the cars, we do the vacations. That has always worked out thanks to network marketing. But for me now, it's more a mission. The first mission is to bring young people on a different and probably much better path, as I just outlined today.
I love
And
that.
also, I believe that we can make a big difference when it comes to health. So I love our test-based nutrition mission, because we don't have to argue, we don't have to convince, we just have to demonstrate and prove, and this is easy. So I believe this is going to travel the world. And my biggest wish was always to be there when a company one day hits 1 billion in sales. And I missed out of it. You know, the Juice Plus company was getting in their biggest time to 700 million, but not more. So I missed that. Quorum International went to 300 million, went out of business. I missed that. My own company was very close, 3 million, missed it by far. And now, together with Doug, Orion, and all of you, and all these amazing leaders we have in Zinzino, I'm in big awe of them. We have amazing people in Zinzino. Every network marketing company would be so blessed to have that kind of top level leadership, and at the same time, super fantastic, humble people, servant leaders who understand it's not about them, it's about their people, it's about serving. I've never seen that. And I saw it the first time so clearly at the director's trip, you know, meeting everyone. The culture that Zinzino has is priceless. And together with that group, we are going to make it happen this time. And we're not going to stop at 1 billion. We're going to go to 10 billion and follow Orion's dreams and his very logical brain of numbers. I will just follow these footsteps, and I will contribute as much as I can. And yes, my passion is the same like it has been 31 years ago. I'm fully energized. I have a big dream, and I will not stop, or we, Audrey and I, we will not stop until we have all these huge common goals fulfilled with Zinzino. We are very hungry. We are very excited. We love what we do. We are blessed for that life, and we are blessed for this company. So all of you on this call who don't know so well yet about Zinzino, maybe you're brand new, maybe you did not succeed yet, you didn't have your breakthrough, just keep learning, keep doing, keep failing. And one day you will be on stage and you will be an inspiration for others who follow you for your leadership. Just stay on it and trust the process.
Oh, well, I can't finish it better than that, Sven. So I'm going to thank you so much for being on and inspiring us all. Thank you for your time, and I'll let everybody unmute. Thanks you for being on, everyone.
Thank you.
We're so appreciative.
Thank you for having me today.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Bye.
Thank
you,
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Vielen Dank.
Bye. Have a great
Bye.
Saturday.
Yes.